Guys, everybody, hey, hey, everybody. Adam Savage here in my cave. We're going to take a journey into young me's brain. There are two newspaper terms from old newspaper people that I think are useful words in the English language. The first one is lead, L-E-D-E. The lead is the top line of the newspaper story. Two people were injured today when a blankety blank hit a dop-a-dop and then this happened, right? That is the absolute top line. And then, you know, your classic newspaper story goes in the inverse pyramid. You say the broadest thing first and you go through the details one by one until you're down to the very specific stuff. But the lead is the top, and it's spelled L-E-D-E. I can't remember exactly why it's spelled L-E-D-E. And the trick in journalism is to lead, L-E-A-D, with the lead, L-E-D-E. And when you don't do that, that mistake is called burying the lead. Famously, one of my favorite lines in any movie is Albert Brooks expressing his love for Holly Hunter, his best friend, in the movie Broadcast News. And he says, "And besides that, I'm in love with you." He's trying to convince her that her boyfriend's a bad dude. And he says, after he gives the explanation, he says, "And besides that, I'm in love with you. How do you like that? I buried the lead." This old journalist is explaining that he did not construct his argument for her in the correct way. I love that. I say that as a long way of introducing my other favorite newspaper term, which is morgue. Now, you might know a morgue as a place where people store dead bodies, but in newspaper speak, it means your clippings. Obviously, a newspaper saves all its clippings, but each reporter also would save clippings that are important to them and put them in a morgue. This is also a term used in the fashion industry. Now, this is my morgue, and I made it in around 1994 or 1995. I had been working with Jamie Heineman at Colossal Pictures for a year or two. I was feeling pretty good, feeling my oats, feeling like my career was coming online. I was finding my professionalism. I was discovering that I was good at this stuff. And I was also making a ton of art all the time. And in making art, I had subscriptions to art magazines, and San Francisco had a ton of galleries back in the early 90s. And so The Guardian and the SF Weekly and other local papers were always printing pictures of art. And I had collected these stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of things that contained images that were interesting to me. Early issues of Cinefex magazine, Cinefantastique, Famous Monsters, movie magazines, also art magazines. And I was like living in my apartment on Bartlett Street here in the Mission, and I was thinking, I have too many magazines, too many things. And each one requires me to go through it and find the thing that is the reason I'm saving that magazine. What if, I thought, I just went through all these magazines and cut out the images that I liked and pasted them in a book? That is this book. So I made this 30 plus years ago. And I was just going through it. We're going to go through it. It's hilarious. You're going to be astounded at how prescient, or how I was already interested in all of the things I am currently interested 30 years ago. So this giant picture of George Washington comes from Jamie's shop. He had done a commercial with some giant dollar bills. There's one on my wall in the cave. Here's a shot of it. There was a bunch of large Georges floating around, and I cut one out and put it on the cover. One of the things that surprised me about this, well, I mean, the most surprising thing about putting this together, even back then, was what I found inspiring. I didn't realize how important photography was to me, just the simple art of photography. So I saved this because it's an amazing historical picture of Albert Einstein and Charlie Chaplin in 1931 hanging out together. I find those sort of intersections interesting, and they make my brain think. Now, I think some of you might be looking at this and realizing, oh my God, did you cut this out of Cinefex? And the answer is, yeah, I did. I have a complete set of Cinefex, which means that I destroyed a few dozen issues back to make this book. I know, blasphemy. This is the wooden cane model that Phil, oh no, this is the wooden cane model that Phil Tippett built. Already obsessed with Kane as a construction. RoboCop, highly inspiring in terms, and obviously all of these different types of cyborgs. Plus, we've got a little Blade Runner in here. That is a very young Mark Pauline, whose right hand was destroyed by an exploding rocket with one of his robot arms. I would end up working with folks that worked with Mark and intersecting with the survival research labs. Yeah, Blade Runner, already really important. I think that's an Alex Cox image from one of his films. Also comic books, right? These beautiful illustrations. I use spray mounts, so a lot of these things are coming apart. Harrison Ford. This is a shot of him getting instruction from Ridley Scott. Also, graphically, I was having a lot of fun with this, clearly. Some Sid Mead drawing from Blade Runner. I don't know what this is from, but again, already spacesuits were like deeply in my head. Oh yeah, here's some facehugger goodness. This is Bill Sienkiewicz, one of the great illustrators in comic book history. This is Elektra Assassin. I built this gun in the mid 80s, in the late 80s in my apartment in Brooklyn. I actually have a plan to replicate this build again and redo this rifle she's holding here. I just love this. I ended up actually, I painted this on a wall of my loft at one point. Yeah. More inspiration, some beautiful fashion work. I think those are vacuum metallized plastic. Can't quite remember. More Terminator. More and more Terminator. Just really interested in, yeah, like couldn't get enough of it. That's the double-bladed knife that the guy's shaving with in Fifth Element. Oh, yeah. Body parts hanging. I can't remember what that's from. But this is the chick from Total Recall. She this mask. Oh my God. It's one of the great special effects. This is actually built by my colleague, Brian Dewey. Brian Dewey, I worked with him at Industrial Light and Magic in the late 90s, but before he got to Industrial Light and Magic, he was a security guard at an effects shop down in LA and eventually worked at that effects shop and built this mechanism. And famously, the interior of the mechanism couldn't contain a full Arnold Schwarzenegger head. So this head they built actually inflated as the mechanism revealed it. Oh. You know, here's me in 1994, not realizing in 5 years I'd be working with this guy. That is Aughra's Orrery from the Dark Crystal, one of the great sets ever built. I know I am given to hyperbole. Here we've got some Wolverine, early Wolverine. Also, this intersects both my love of Sherry Levine and billiards. I can't remember who made this, but this is wood and polychrome. Beautiful sculpture. I know we're going through all of this. Even close-up pictures of ticks. Oh, that's another by the same artist that did the Red Lady. This is Joseph Cornell, maybe one of my biggest inspirations. Cornell built small boxes of found objects. And if you're at all interested in found object art, please dive deeply into his work. One of the really special things about it was that there were parts that moved around. And so each time the piece got shown, this bracelet might be in a different position, and that was part of his goal. Some textile arts, a close-up of a fingerprint. Oh, right. I love artists in their studios, so I gathered those. And this is me spending 2 days, like cutting, laying things out in different categories, and then slowly just layering them in. Some kinetic art. Beautiful. Jimon Hunsu. You didn't know this. Jimon Hunsu was a fashion model. I mean, you might know this. And this is a Robert Mapplethorpe photo of him. Oh, yeah. San Francisco is really important locus of kinetic art, both survival research labs and amorphic robot works, and also the inimitable Alan Rath, who made many, many sculptures of deep hilarity, robots that smelled things. This is called Hound, and it's just a couple of television screens playing a nose at the end of this cart. Oh God, I've always loved this Meccano construction. This is a famous surrealist piece from the early 20th century in Paris, and I am still blown away by how the hell they cast so much clear resin without any bubbles, and it's all shaving brushes. Just the physical execution of this mystifies me. Some more comic books, more comic book illustrations. This is going through Manga. Oh, I think that's a drawing of what Molly Razor's hand works like in Neuromancer. Oh, these are actually pieces of the Akira manga that I cut apart. You can see my interest in sort of organic, sort of textile art, actual robotic hands. Terminator again, exoskeletons, animatronic duck. Oh, I love the painter Anselm Kiefer. Specifically, I love his sculptures, and he's done a few large wings. Oh, there's Chico McMurtry. This is one of his robots. I worked as Chico's assistant for a couple of years. And Moy Bridges animations. More Alan Rath. Okay, again, here's just some photography I find inspiring. Oh, Klaus Ohlenberg. I love soft sculptures. And again, these are just all these, every time I found something inspiring, I would figure out where it could go and pop it in here. Brazil. Abyss. Oh, I have never stopped being obsessed with this beautiful dressmaker's dummy wearing this incredible, it's a wool suit designed by Balenciaga in 1991. 1991. It really feels like the new look. Absolutely gorgeous. I just love these metal legs here. More alien, bulletproof face mask. More Brazil. See, I love going through the back stacks of museums, right? Here's Ripley. Time Bandits. Oh, this is a movie called Hardware, I think. Oh, yeah. Some beautiful mechanical sculptures. Felix Gonzalez Torres is a sculptor. These are more pieces by the same guy that did the wood people earlier, I believe. Felix Gonzalez Torres, an artist I really respect. I know this looks like a stack of blue paper, because it is. I still find his work really moving, especially when I've seen it in person. I think that's the second time we saw that image. Let's see, more manga. Oh, one of my chairs, one of my own drawings. I have this whole story about doing a press conference after we lost control of the cannonball, thinking about all those microphones gathered in one place, and here 20 years before I had taken this picture. Also gun cases. Look at this. And there'll be a later gun case thing. And every bit of this sort of astounds me with its connection to stuff that I currently have in my collection. Old cuneiform, the Polynesians, the greatest navigators the world ever produced, and their wave guide fluctuation maps that were made of sticks. And this allowed them to sail thousands of miles with precision. Astounding. Oh yeah, just Aztec calendars. Things to come. This is still a spacesuit I may build one day. Absolutely. And again, each time, every now and then, there's just a photograph I like. Oh, geez. Jack's makeup from American Werewolf in London. Yeah. Oh, the bunny from Creepshow, man. Was there anything scarier than that bunny? Yeah, I like that bunny a lot, clearly. More RoboCop. He shows up repeatedly. I also was already collecting many, and I loved depictions of many of different things. Again, more artists in their studio. I think this is Anselm Kiefer's main studio. Yeah, it is. Matisse sculpting here. Absolutely amazing. Oh, God. David Mock. Holy cow, man. This thing, I wish I could have seen it in person. This is all magazines. Honestly, so many of these things live rent-free in my head. These beautiful fabric constructions that look like guts and a viscera. You can see the connection. Here's some armor. Beatrice Abbott taking a picture on the Chrysler building here. And then, you know, just photography. Just this guy with plaster bandages, and the photo is by Elliot Schwartz called Modern Prometheus. I am a particular fan of weird and awesome titles. Magritte, maybe the greatest titleist of any artist. Swords, right? We went to Met a couple of years ago and they brought out some swords for me. Here's me collecting pictures of swords way, way, way back. Berlin after the war. Oh, one of Jeff Koons' sculptures. Blade Runner, again, landing on the police building. This is just me. I had a graphic book of Blade Runner and I just cut it into chunks because these photos were so well laid out. Fabergé eggs. I love the work of Carl Fabergé and his shop. Unbelievable attention to detail. This is the second time that's in there. I only just realized this moment that there's two of these in here. There's Chew from Blade Runner. Oh. I can't remember the name of it. Robert Mapplethorpe again. His photography I really love. Sandy Calder. Alexander Calder in his studio. Calder is the inventor of the mobile. And he also made mobiles that didn't work, which he called stabiles. Stable. I don't love his formal sculpture as much as I love his studio and all the things he made for his family. And a million years ago, the Frick Museum in New York had an exhibition of just things that Calder had made for his family. There was a toaster in there that burned one of his daughter's name into one side of the piece of toast and the other daughter's name into the other side. I think I collected this in here just because I love the different approaches sculpturally in stone to eyes and to making them feel real. That's another piece by the same guy, Mock. These are all just magazines with cars around them. More Akira. Ooh. Oh, it's a bit of detritus from an old shop. We'll just leave that in there. Toolboxes. Again, just some photography. I find this almost as I find great photographs almost as inspiring as great sculptures, or equally as. Look, gun cases, right? Still, I think one of my favorite costumes in any movie, Mad Max's jacket from the second Mad Max film. Some medical viscera, two-headed twins. Oh, thank you. Two-headed twins, early alien sculpt. Actually, I think that's from not Alien, it's from not even Aliens. I think this is from Alien 3. Duchamp, Peter Gabriel, two absolute heroes. I love Duchamp maybe most of all because of his commitment to absurdity, to true absurdity. Like, I've been meditating for the better part of 35 years. Terribly. My meditation practice is a shambles. But one of the things that it gives me is this great perspective. And I feel like Duchamp sat there in the art world playing chess and sort of, I'm not explicating my thoughts very correctly here. Here's what I love about Duchamp. He made really important strides in art. Specifically, the first Cubist painting to arrive in America was his, not Picasso or Braque. It was his Nude Descending a Staircase. But by calling it Nude Descending a Staircase, he's thumbing his nose at the fine artists making Cubist paintings. They didn't like the classicist title. Yeah, Duchamp is an early troll, but on the side of creativity and good. Oh yeah, Calder. There's Calder Studio. Look at that. There's some instrumentation. Maybe that's a barometer or a scale. More cane, man. This is actually a collage of photos I took of Kane, which was on display at the very first Robot Wars. Oh, I have never forgotten about this. Marius Crook, untitled. This is an armoire tilted down with a sweater on the floor. I love the movement of this piece, and it, like most of the things in this book, has never left my head. This is some of Rob Bottin's sculptural work from The Thing. Oh, there she is. Hans Bellmer made mannequins like this. Very, very disturbing. Very amazing stuff. Oh yeah, look at that. Again, more amazing figures. More Akira manga. Oh, one of the great animatronic puppets in film history, the Bishop puppet from Alien 3, which they shot on a table. It could have been Lance Henriksen with his head sticking up through the table. Why build a model if you're gonna lay it on a table? I'm still fighting these fights. Bones, Arthur Ganson. Arthur Ganson. So this is a photo I took at the Chicago Art Institute. There was a machine art exhibition in 1991 or 92, and I brought one of Chico McMurtry's sculptures there. And so we were setting up all day and all night, a whole bunch of artists. I was, an art assistant. And Arthur Ganson had this area of the gallery, and this piece was there. And we stared at it for hours, all of us loading stuff in. And after staring at it for hours, we went over and we plugged it in. We felt confident enough, we plugged it in. And it's this incredible, elaborate mechanism made of coat hanger wire with this tiny little wishbone out at the front that moves and walks and drags the whole machine with it. And it is powered with two fins sitting in electrified rails. And so it walks across, and then it gets to the end and turns around and walks back and turns around and walks back. And I'll tell you, we didn't know that it walked back and forth, but when we plugged it in and we saw that it was walking towards the end, and we realized that the whole mechanism would go, and then we watched it and it goes, and this thing goes and this whole thing turns. It's like 1 a.m. in the Art Institute, and like 40 people in the room, all of us just ridiculously tired, just like broke into applause because it was so amazing. Insides of turtles, I think this is photographed somewhere else in this book as well. Things like book nooks or small dollhouse stuff, orreries too, really inspiring, bones. This is all the same stuff I have in my collection today. Oh, what is this? I didn't even realize that I did this. Holy shitballs. There's me. 94, 95, I was wrong. It's 1997. And it's the 12th of February when I made this. And here is me on the floor of my apartment in 1997. This would be Bartlett Street, putting this book together. This was a really great sea change for me. I got rid of like 7 linear feet of books and magazines, but more than that, gathering these all together was a really unifying aesthetic experience, obviously, because this still reads like a compendium of everything I am currently interested in. And it's lovely to go back 29 years and find this brain thinking the same thoughts I am thinking now. That's kind of beautiful. I recommend you try this. It is a spectacular exercise. I did it in a day or two. And like I said, this book has been an important part of my collection and a part of my aesthetic mental palace ever since I put it together. Thank you guys for joining me for this really deep dive into my brain. Thank you guys. I'd love to hear how you actually assemble and collate and collect and go back and review the things you find aesthetically inspiring. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Thank you guys for watching. I wanted to tell you about some new merch we have at adamsavage.com. We have a 4-pack of Savage meatball logos, a 3-inch, a 2-inch, a 1-inch, and my new favorite, a Savage meatball magnet. You can get them at adamsavage.com.